Humans of the cardboard, I got something to say today. TCG exclusive archetypes make me sad. They disappoint me. They make me depressed. All that stuff. Because I always think they're cool. I always think they have potential after the first wave, and they just don't come through. The problem is that's not really been the case for that long. I mean, sort of. 5 years. That's about the time span that Konami's been shitting the bed on TCG exclusive archetypes. And that's what I want to go over today. Like, just the disparity in how Konami got super, super safe with TCG exclusives, like, 5 years ago. And since then, we haven't gotten a legit good TCG exclusive archetype since then, basically. And they had a bunch prior. Probably the 5 years prior, you could find, over half the TCG exclusive archetypes were, like, legit players in certain metagames. So we're going to talk about that today. I think we're going to go over it in a fun way. Right now we have gotten the first wave of Ashen. This isn't specifically an Ashen video. It's just TCG exclusives in general. We've gotten the first wave. We have 7 more cards coming in Legacy of Destruction. We'll find that out in the next month and a half when that comes out. And then for right now, we're just sitting there going, yeah, there's, the Dark type sucks so far with the first wave, but that's normally the case. So if Konami really nails it with that second wave, that's what we say every single time, and for 5 years straight, for 10 archetypes straight, we have been let down. And I don't expect much different this time. Why would you, when they've shown you 4.5 years of of research of numbers that they're not going to come through? And it makes me sad. We're not going to get even the introduction of the next TCG exclusive archetype until the core set after Legacy of Destruction, Infinite Forbidden, but that's like 4.5 months away. So a little ways away, but just to give us context of where we are right now. So we're going to do this in a pretty fun way. We're going to do a little tier list video. I think this is one of the most fun types of videos to do. Keep in mind, when I am ranking these archetypes, I'm ranking them over their entire lifespan. Like how good they were for how long, and that decides, like, as an archetype, how well over a longer time they have performed. Now it's going to be weird because some of these archetypes are not as old as some of the others, so you know what I mean. It's harder to judge them because they have a smaller sample size, a smaller number of formats where they even had a chance to be good. I get it, but I'm just doing my best here, and these are just my opinions. The overall point will get across, though. It doesn't even matter how truly accurate this tier list is. I don't like these colors, though, so I'm going to change some of these colors. Let's make a purple. I really, really like purple. All right, cool. So let's start off with, obviously, Ashen. Let's go in reverse chronological order with through the last 5 years of all the TCG exclusives from core sets. So Ashen, to me, is an easy D tier, right? We only have the first wave, though. Like, I'm not going to punish it for not being... for not getting its second wave yet, but for where we are right now, and with Konami showing us that they usually don't come through in the last 5 years, I think D tier is pretty fair. Testina, also D tier. This archetype has done basically nothing, maybe a couple of regional tops, but that is okay at best, right? Maybe it could be absolute low C tier, but for me, it's still D tier. Gold Pride, one of the slightly better ones. I'd put it in like low B tier. I wouldn't put it in high B tier, because to me, like, A tier could be like tier 1 for a little bit and like solid, just like actually a legit top tier contender for a format or two or longer. B tier to me, though, is like, tier 2 top rogue for a bit, and I feel like that's where this was. This archetype was getting regional tops as a pure variant for a format or two, and then it's also been a part of the Punk decks as well. I thought overall it's been a slightly above average TCG exclusive, so I think B tier is fair enough. Goatee, for me, it's going to sit at the top of C tier. Some people are probably going to be upset at this. I'm not ranking it off of where it is right now. I'm ranking it off of over its whole lifespan. It's been horrible garbage for, 2 years now? A year and a half now? And then finally they get like some new fish cards, some new water support, and they're finally seeing a little bit of play with the runic variant and also just some pure variants, and they're still not even performing that well. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, C tier seems fair, especially since it's been like so short-lived with the minimal success they have had. Libromancer, kind of same thing for me. C tier for me feels perfect for a deck that maybe like was a decent rogue option for like one format and then fell off the map. And that's exactly what's happened with both of these decks, right? Not that Goatee's fallen off yet, but it just hasn't proven that it's done more than that. So Libromancer was like cool, the cool hotness. Everybody thought it had all the potential in the world, and then the second wave came out and they had like 2 decent cards in that second wave, and you could basically throw all the rest of them away. That's the same story for all these TCG exclusive archetypes. Very disappointing. B Trooper. I would put B Trooper closer to higher tier C because it did, I think, make it to tier 1 at some point. But even though it did, it was like for one format, and then as soon as Verite Anaconda, not even a card in its own engine got banned, the deck fell apart and like didn't see any play after that. So I think that's pretty fair. Warrock is the worst archetype I've ever seen. Deck's terrible. I hate it. Mutant, same thing. Solid as like a cool rogue option for like 1 or 2 formats, and then boom, have not seen much of it since. I've seen like small things, people playing like as an engine in Sprite. That's cool with E-Telly. Not much outside of that, and I don't know if that's enough to get it up to B tier for me. Plunder is straight up the best TCG exclusive in the last 5 years. It just is what it is. They have this deck, even though it doesn't have the peak of something like B Trooper, this archetype was literally like a solid rogue option for like 2 to 3 years. At least 2 years, it feels like. And that's a pretty long time for Yu-Gi-Oh! To actually maintain as like a solid option competitively. So we'll take it. It has a bunch of different variants. I think it's the best TCG exclusive archetype in the last 5 years. And then Dream Mirror, probably just slightly better than Warrock. I don't know. They're both equally garbage. This deck was never good. Never will be good. It's terrible. It's gotten a million cards of support too. It makes me sick. All right, and then for a couple of past archetypes that just came out in the 5 years, probably, I don't know the exact timeline, but 5 years prior to this last 5 years of garbage and use, like wasted time, basically, by Konami. So Cosmo, it was a tier 1 deck, like solidly for a format or two. I wasn't around for Cosmo format, but I know it was like a legit good deck at one point. Kaijus I was putting S tier just because to this day they are still generic solid options people look at in their side deck, so that's fine. Dangers, kind of same thing. Like if a deck comes, like literally a year ago, we saw this played in a tier 0 tier limit format, and it was the best engine you could play with the deck. If a deck comes out that just has synergy with it, you immediately go to this deck and say, this engine is still broken, so let's play around with it. Subterror would be the one from these that I would probably put at like the top of B tier, and I know it didn't even get good until Guru came out, but I'm just looking at overall lifespan. It was garbage for a while, and then they got Guru, and then they were a legit top tier like rogue deck, and sometimes even a tier 2 deck for like 2+ years through TOS format, and even after TOS format they played like the Dragoon stuff, and we're still getting pretty consistent tops on the regional level. So yeah, I think this deck is better than every single deck we've gotten in the last 5 years. It's crazy. Burning Abyss, another prime A tier for me, like hung around as a solid top tier contender earlier on in its inception, and even after it fell off for like years and years and years, it was still like a solid rogue option. So this one to me is like maybe the most balanced of all these archetypes, because a lot of these had super high highs and then fell off. Burning Abyss literally was like tier 1, arguably best deck in the game, and like then hung around for years and years and years. And then Spiral, Spiral's S tier probably just. It's one of the few tier 0 formats in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. This deck was insane. TCG exclusive, not much to say there. But yeah, there you go. Like just to show you like the break is, I just showed you 6 out of probably 10 archetypes that came the 5 years prior, and 6 of them are above average. Whereas like you could maybe make an argument that Plunder and Gold Pride are above average archetypes, and then 8 out of 10 others, 80% are not complete whiffs, but like below subpar overall to me. So I don't know. I feel like there's so much to be gained by just making these better. I think there's so many things. So first off, it makes the product just better, which is better for the players, better for the Konami as well, because it can help these products just sell better if there's just more desirable stuff in them. So there's the first thing. The second thing would be actually trying to create on purpose a difference in formats. Basically, the main difference in our format and the OCG is Max C. And other than Max C, it really does feel like we are just OCG's format 3 months later. I mean, look at it right now. We waited 3 months behind them to actually get the Poplar and like next wave of Snake Eye cards, and now we're just like kind of in their format. The two best decks are Fire King Pure, Snake Eye Pure and Snake Eye Fire King. Like those are the two best decks now, and that's what they've been doing for the last 3 months. It feels like we're just following them. And if they actually made somewhat consistent, like just when they do make them, make them decent. Like tier 2, maybe every once in a while a tier 1, and it actually can, like, those can build up, especially over time if they kind of like don't get power crept super quickly. Then we have like 3-4 decks that we've had, you know, coming around, and we've had longer than them circulating, and they actually like are players that actually can change the chemistry of how all the decks at the top level like interact with each other. And then like some decks become a little worse, some decks become a little better if that deck is in the format, and it actually can create a bigger difference and like ripple effect between our two formats, which I think feels better than just like us being them 3 months later. And I guess the other thing I thought that would be interesting is like player morale is like another thing where, because we are just Konami like OCG 3 months later, it kind of feels like we're just the shadow basically of them. We happen after them, we come behind them always. But if we actually had formats and cool cards that are like worth wanting, that are really cool and are warping the format, that they have to look at us and say, whoa, I can't wait to get those. I want to play test those early before they even come out. That's our entire life. That's our entire life, looking at every single card, basically, that's coming out down the pipeline. So it'd be cool to kind of have a little something that we can have that's special, instead of basically getting garbage for the last 5 years. So I don't know. That's where I land on everything. This is just a cool format video, giving me the room to just ramble about how annoying it is that Konami's just been like shitting out subpar TCG exclusive archetypes for 5 straight years. And I think it'd be good for everybody if they just kind of turned that around, just made them a little bit better, just make them actual decks that can play. So, you know, we'll see where it goes. You know, maybe it takes enough voices out there to make them want to change their mind, but it is what it is. You know, just want to get this out there for you. But thanks for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. Again, like, I don't think the tier list needs to be super, super accurate. You could move around a couple things if you want, depending on your perception of any of these decks. But I still think the overall point holds true for what I'm trying to get across here. So I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.